It's time once again for Space City Sports here on Houston City Beat, HoustonCityBeat.com. Mike Acosta here with you alongside Gerald Sanchez of LSNSports.com. Gerald, welcome back in for another edition of Space City Sports.
Oh, it's good to be back, Mike.
What is the big game going on this week?
Well, Friday night in Webster at Challenger Columbia Stadium, the Clear Falls Knights from Clear Creek ISD are hosting the Dickinson Gators, and we'll have that game. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff, and it's an important game for Dickinson as far as trying to rebound from a tough loss the previous week to another Clear Creek ISD school, the Clear Springs Chargers. That was going to be a real important game in that district for Dickinson. They wanted to finish on top. Now they have one loss, and that tiebreaker goes to Clear Springs. So Clear Falls is also in the mix along with Deer Park in that district. So it's going to be an exciting finish, and we're coming down the stretch because after Friday, it's just one more game in the regular season before the playoffs start.
Yeah, it is an exciting time. So, some of these schools that are in the neck of it right now, what do you think, what is the best thing do you feel that, we've talked to a lot of coaches over the years. What do you think is the best message for these high school kids?
Well, I think that you want to start playing well. As in any sport, you want to start playing your best ball heading into your postseason. And if Dickinson stubbed their toe last week against Clear Springs, in which they had some turnovers and they had some mistakes that they made, they want to clear that up. Coincidentally, or no, I should say, pardon the pun, clear it up against Clear Falls. And Dickinson wants to win the next game, obviously for Friday, and then they play Deer Park, and that's going to be another important game. So they're playing some top-tier quality, getting ready for the playoffs. They've already clinched a playoff spot, but seeding is so important, and they want to be playing well heading into the playoffs. And it looks like they're going to have an early matchup with either Atascocita or with North Shore, and that's going to be, they're going to want to be playing their top ball heading into the playoffs for Dickinson.
That's right. You're listening to Gerald Sanchez from the Legacy Sports Network, LSNSports.com. All the best high school action across the Legacy Sports Network. Make sure you listen to them each and every week at LSNSports.com. Who do you have on the call this week?
We're going to have Don Jones II and Buddy Brooks. They are longtime voices of Dickinson Gator football.
Nice. So a lot of the listeners out there will have exactly what they usually are finding whenever they listen to their games.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a streaming video, and we also have a couple of audio broadcasts on Friday as well. Like we have Oak Ridge, they are playing, and also St. Thomas. Those are audio broadcasts that we'll be doing on LSNSports.com.
Awesome. So last night, the World Series ended. And, it was the Yankees and the Dodgers, and the Dodgers won. It's their second time since 2020. And, of course, that was the shortened season that, in my opinion, that was like a spring training type of season there. but it was a big deal. I'm happy for Freddie Freeman. You know what? I didn't watch any of this World Series. So, you tell me how it showed up. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this World Series this year in 2024 was about as exciting as the 1994 World Series, if you get me.
I've seen some pictures over the years on the internet with the logo of the 1994 World Series, and obviously there was no World Series then. For Astro fans, it was a very interesting World Series. Who do you root for? It's kind of obviously the Astros have had the rivalry with the Dodgers going all the way back to the National League days of the 70s and 80s, and then the Yankees of obviously the last 10 years. So it was kind of, well, who do you root for? Pick your poison. But as a baseball fan, I enjoy the World Series, no matter who's playing, and I always watch the postseason in the World Series, even as a couple of teams that we normally don't root for or don't like. But it turned out to be Dodgers. They just ended up capitalizing on mistakes that the Yankees made, and the Yankees' warts that they had during the regular season were really exposed in this series. Give the Dodgers credit for that.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know what it was. It's like even with Halloween and the World Series this year, I think I've just been too busy and it just wasn't on my radar at all. But again, I'm happy for guys like Freddie Freeman and whatever. I mean, that's literally where I'm at right now with the World Series this year.
Yeah, the Dodgers have some good guys on them. Freddie Freeman obviously being one of them, and then Mookie Betts. He's a heck of a ball player. We had a couple of former Astros, Kiki Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez, who played for the Astros, and they're now world champions. Kiki Hernandez, tell you what, he's kind of like a secret weapon in October. No matter what team he plays for, he produces.
Yeah. No, I remember when he came up with the Astros, really nice guy, had a lot of ability, but the timeline in the character, or not the character, but the career where he was at versus where the Astros were at the time, they needed to go other places. They were building in different ways, and so he was traded away. But the one thing I guess I can say, and freely say, I'm glad that the Dodgers clinched it at Yankee Stadium. On Yankee Stadium turf. It's just another big loss for the Yankees on their home field.
Yeah, how about that incident with Mookie Betts going down the right field line and those couple of fans, the Yankees season ticket holders, and their misbehavior of that. That was not a good look for them.
No, that wasn't. That was really terrible. And, fans, I mean, and that was so blatant too. I mean, when you reach over and you grab into a glove, first off, you should never put your hands on a player that's coming over. Even if it's going into the stands, you never, ever grab a player that's trying to make a play. You can get out of the way. It is fair game. If it goes over the railing and you're going to try to grab a ball, the foul ball, whatever it is, as long as it's in foul territory, it's not fair. It's fair game. But you can't grab a guy to the point where his glove was almost taken off. That was just really stupid. I mean, dumb. Bronx dumb is what I'll say.
It triggered my memory of the 1996 American League Championship Series in Game 1 with the Orioles and Yankees when Derek Jeter hit the opposite field home run against Armando Benitez. And in right field, Tony Tarasco goes back for the Orioles, and 12-year-old Jeffrey Mayer reaches over the right field wall and takes the out away, and it turns into a home run.
Yeah.
And that was, I remember Davey Johnson going out there and arguing with Richie Garcia. Armando Benitez, a pitcher, going out to right field to argue that call. It was a pretty bad call. Replay showed us as well, but there was no such thing as replay back then. And they ended up being a big thing for the Yankees because then they started winning. And that was the streak that they started 1996 with that era of Yankee baseball. But that's what triggered my memory when Jeffrey Mayer, 12 years old, reaches over the right field wall and takes the ball away from Tony Tarasco, who's waiting for that ball to come down.
Yeah, that was so long ago. It's kind of like, the Yankees with not having won a World Series since 2009. It's almost like the Dallas Cowboy fans out there. Where they the best thing they can do is lean on something that happened close to 30 years ago. so anyway,
think about this. And I thought about this last night. The 2000s, the Dodgers and the Yankees have won 2 World Series. 2000 and 2009 for the Yankees. For the Dodgers, 2020, if you want to count that. And then this year, the Astros have also won 2 World Series in the decade or the century of 2020 or 2000. And so you think about that, you put it into perspective, the Yankees, the big dynasty, they've only won 2 World Series, same as much as the Astros and the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the Astros have 4 pennants too. You talk about world championships, but they have won 4 American League championships in their run as well. Well, we could go on and on and on. All I have to say is the World Series is over. Free agency is now on the clock. We'll see what happens with Alex Bregman if the Astros can re-sign him. Yusei Kikuchi is also a free agent, so everybody's on the clock now. And we'll see if they come back or what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of speculation. The one sentence or the one phrase that I always hear every offseason when you talk about free agency is you're bound to hear somebody say, it's going to be interesting. I don't know how many times I hear that, but I can't. I don't know if there's a more bigger filler type of phrase than anything else when it comes to sports. When you say it's going to be interesting.
Mike, I've never heard anybody ever say it's going to be boring.
Well, thank God it's not that. And I don't see how baseball could ever really be boring unless you're just not a thinking person. And that's what baseball is a thinking person's type of sport. And of course, all the athleticism that has to go into it. It's a beautiful American sport. And I love baseball. I just didn't really care about the World Series this year. And that's it.
It's kind of the way I felt last year about last year's World Series. I barely watched last year's World Series, which is very, very rare for me because I have been watching the World Series since the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. We're lifelong baseball fans here. Well, that's Gerald Sanchez. I'm Mike Acosta. Find Gerald along the Legacy Sports Network at lsnsports.com. The big game. Once again, Gerald, tell us about that big game coming up tomorrow night on Friday.
It'll be Dickinson against Clear Falls, and that is a 7 o'clock kick, and you can watch it on lsnsports.com with Buddy Brooks and Don Jones II.
Fantastic. Thanks, Gerald, for joining us another week. We'll have another edition of Space City Sports coming up next week. For Gerald Sanchez, I'm Mike Acosta, here on Houston City Beat, where we are the storytellers of Houston. Visit us at HoustonCityBeat.com. Till next time, so long, everybody.